Very good.
Great.
Well, hi. This is Dr. Joe Tatey from St. Mary's University of Minnesota, coming to you on behalf of PH 362 Business Ethics. Since I've been making you guys out there make short Zoom recorded videos of conversations about topics like business and ethics, and most recently, as of midnight last night, you all turned in your interaction with your partner on the movie The Godfather about where ethics or business showed up in that film for you. I thought that I should return the favor, and today I've brought to class my former student from '06, Beth Patel. Beth Patel is a clinical variant scientist at Mayo Clinic. She has obviously was not a business major here, but has had a lot of learning in the professional sphere at a place like Mayo Clinic, one of the world's premier medical research facilities. So, with no further ado, I just want to let Beth introduce herself a little bit to you guys. So, go ahead, Beth, if you would.
Sure. I'm Beth Patel, class of '06, formerly Beth Schubert. And I live in Rochester, Minnesota, work for Mayo Clinic as a clinical variant scientist. And what that is when a patient gets testing ordered by their doctor that involves DNA or RNA sequencing, and Mayo Clinic has not seen those results before, that data comes to me, and I help to interpret those results using hermeneutics, and then I forward those results to write them up in a report, and that report goes to a clinician who can help treat the patient. So my job is the job of puzzles and interpretation. And then I think that we're going to talk about AI today, and we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, where the landscape is now, and how my role plays into that.
Absolutely. And so, just for students' benefit, I never stop hassling you if you've been in my class. And so I sent Beth Patel the article that was written by my classmate H. James Wilson and Paul Daugherty that's currently on the cover of Harvard Business Review about generative AI and so I sent it to Beth, and this is a very fresh conversation. We have not rehearsed this in any way, shape, or form. But I wanted you to see what someone made of an article and the reason I sent it to her is because when she visited my class last year, Beth made the outrageous claim that not only does she want more AI, but she wants better AI. And that shocked us. Just to be clear, we're in an AI hype phase. This 24-month period that we're living in is going to be tons of hype. And I think that's why it was important to read Wilson and Doherty's article, because even if it's all hype, there's still something critical in there. And many of you noticed it, that one of the prompts is we've got to be better at prompting AIs. We have to learn to be better prompters. But secondly, and most important for Tatey, Beth said the word hermeneutics. That's about human judgment. That finally, no matter how good the AI, you're going to have to be better at writing prompts for it, whichever one you're using, and you're going to finally sit in judgment on the data that you generate using AI. So I'll open it up then to Beth. She's got a couple of images that can animate our conversation.
Sure. I'll introduce the images, and we can go back and forth if we need to.
Fantastic.
So I think that from my vantage point, I'm dealing with lots and lots of information. I can go backwards to, where is it? This picture. I'm dealing with lots of information that's coming off of sequencers and being kind of automatically processed into a list of mutations that may or may not be important for patient care.
And
And
Beth,
then
just indicate with the show them where you're talking
yeah,
about. Yeah.
so lots of information up here at the top of the funnel. And then pretty much these 3 or 4 first steps are done automatically or through bioinformatics pipelines that don't need a person hands-on. But I'm this person in the bottleneck here
But hold
who,
on, humans have designed those bioinformatic structures that are doing the sorting and sifting. Am I wrong?
no, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Humans have made those tools. However, those tools allow for the processing of this like high tech data
Yeah.
without somebody having to go through and piecemeal it. So it takes it makes work that was maybe like a day or more beforehand down to maybe an hour of processing speed, so that like really turns around, it makes our job doable. If that wasn't in place, we would not be able to do our job. And then uh, that data comes processed, and it's in our computer systems and everything. And I need to be able to translate that information to something a clinician can use. And so I used all the tools I have at my disposal. So I have lots of databases that I look at. I look at the current literature. I look at in silico prediction tools. I look at a lot of different things. And so having AI as another tool that I can use and supervise is really beneficial to me. And I think it's beneficial to a lot of people who are in this space and across different disciplines. Yeah, so I think that, and what I've found, I've done a little bit of research on AI, is the AI chatbots and the algorithms that house more information in the background actually perform better. If you have a smaller training set, or you have a smaller pool of data that you're taking information from, it's not going to perform as well. However, there's this paradox I think we had touched on in a previous conversation, that's more of like, there's this paradox in medicine where AI can help with things that fit a specific pattern, but you need a person there who is going to be able to discern when you need to override that pattern recognition, and when you need to recognize something as being distinct and being an N of one. That's medical lingo. That means like this is a special circumstance that needs some kind of personalization. And so, but being able to use AI in that way is really a great tool.
Beth,
But it still
I'm
needs
gonna
to be
butt in right
supervised.
there because
Yep, please do.
this is what so to complete the funnel in the image you have, we're starting with data that can be sifted and sorted by various kinds of tools. Some of those are AI, some of those are just optimizing stats, et cetera, et cetera. It comes down to you, the clinical variant scientist. You're passing that report off to a practitioner who's facing a client, facing a customer. I guess I'm just doing those terms for my business majors, but what it's facing is a patient in this case. And your particular company, Mayo Clinic, has as its mission and vision centrally focused on trying to meet the needs of those patients. So that funnel comes down from, let's say, the AI to a human making judgment to another human looking at an N of one, this particular patient here. So even your report is going to another human interpreter, namely the practitioner, who's going
Mhm.
to like, engage the patient in treatment of some kind. That's got to be like, as you're saying, a personalization or a human to override. That's what Tatey loves in this article from H. James Wilson and Paul Doherty, is that it foregrounds the need for a human, no matter how much of the process we're able to fork over to AI in whatever field, there's still going to be the case that we've got to have a human to do the override. And that's not easy to define, and that's where I'm interested in your input there. Like, what did you make of their article? Because you read the article by Doherty and Wilson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what stood out to you in the article more generally?
I felt very validated when I was reading that article, because I think the knee-jerk reactions that you typically get when you're saying, "Oh, I'm interested in using AI," is why? Like, why aren't you afraid it's going to take your job, or what is or do you not want to do your job? And no, I just want to be better at my job. I want to keep evolving as the field keeps evolving. And I think that part of like evolving to be a better worker when you're working with lots and lots of data is, learning how to use these tools and
But
use
I'm going
them
to
in a way
interrupt.
that's going to help.
It's
Yep.
my, my privilege. I'm a freaking philosophy professor. These lucky people don't have to be in the classroom with me, but they should witness this. What you're really saying there is these knee-jerk. I'm going to just be fresh. I'm a college professor. I can't. That's a dumbass. That's an emotional dumbass response. What, you don't want to do your job? You don't want to. You're not. You're afraid it's not. It's going to take your job. It's like, come on. The article is so good on that. Yeah,
Mhm.
40% of these jobs are going to be taken not by AI, but by people who are over knee-jerk, dumbass emotional responses, who are saying, I just
Exactly.
want to get better at my job. I view it as one more tool that's ineradicable. It's not going away. It's here to stay. And I'm going
And
to make the
eventually
point.
everybody's going to need to know how to use it. Don't you
Yeah,
want to be the person who is the early adopter and knows how to do this and has that skill set rather than somebody who has been scared of it and then they're not practiced on how to query um, something from these
that
tools.
in my interviews with students, that really came up as the number one insight that students would report from Wilson and Doherty is that we really got to get good at querying. We have to learn that they make that point admirably in
Mhm.
the article. Um, and I'm going to be brutal here. Let's talk then about your use of LinkedIn, X, and YouTube, and the paradox. And then we're going to have to cut the our particular video short, but
Sure.
LinkedIn, X, and YouTube and AI on the one hand, it sounds like we're talking about the 21st century, a virtual workplace. And at the same time, Tati is still requiring these people to make handwritten notes of their interactions. Why,
Oop.
yep, and there's your handwritten notes of
Yeah.
our interaction over the last hour. What is that? Sounds paradoxical, and yet somehow both are necessary. We have to become virtual citizens, and I think we still need to remain analog people with a pen and paper in hand. I wonder if you could make that case as a closing argument for my students.
Sure. I think that they both have a space. I mean, if I'm thinking about a particular figure or if I'm pretty visual, so if I am thinking of wanting to display data in a certain way to help communicate, oftentimes it's easier to scribble it out on paper. Or if I make particular insights or I hear a phrase I like, I jot it down. And to me, it just makes more sense. I'm attached to my pen and paper. LinkedIn,
Before you do
YouTube.
that, can
Oh
you
yeah,
tell them that what you told me, that you in fact loaded up a picture, a digital image of that
yeah. I
image?
loaded. Yeah.
They
So
need
I
to hear
came.
this. Yeah, it's okay. That's good enough.
uh,
Need to
So
actually
good
read
enough.
it. Why
Yeah.
did you do that? Why did you capture digitally an analog image and load it up to one of your platforms for use, for wider use?
I didn't have time to open up Excel and type it all out. I had an image in my head. I drew it on paper and then I took a picture of it and put it on the Google Drive for my collaborators. And they'll build something that is more impressive looking, but like encompasses the same concepts.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, because I'm making them make digital images of their analog notes and dump them to a G drive. This is something that now students, just so you hear that, that's a clinical variant scientist, and this is not a rehearsed conversation. She brought that up on her own. She didn't know that you guys are being required to do. Oh, and Beth, quickly, iterative. If you're learning something new, why is it good to learn a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, a little bit the next day, a little bit the next day? I'm asking them to be iterative in their research, but I don't really care about mastery of the content. I care that they are iterative in their practice, especially coming out of college. Why might a business student be interested in having an iterative practice of inquiry?
Sure, you want to stay engaged. You want to stay engaged with the topic that you're interested in. And so even if
But they're
it's
not
just a
interested in it. They don't give a shit about Aristotle, Kant, and Mill. So, but why should they stay iteratively engaged, even when it's work or when it's labor and it's not something they like.
That's how you get good at something. I mean, really, like if you think about a workout strategy, you don't get in shape just by going to work out once, right? If you think about meditation, you don't reduce stress by meditating one time. You you don't
Damn it.
master that. I know, right? It wouldn't it be great?
Yeah.
But that's not how really any practice works. You have to really dedicate time and a little bit of time and a little bit of effort and do it consistently. Um, Eating healthy one day, you're not going to lose 20 pounds. It's just not going to happen. So if if you want to be better at, this process, then yeah, you have to dedicate a little bit of time each day. I think it's good across the board with different things in your life.
You don't remember much about philosophy, so to speak, from your time with me, but probably from your whole collective time at both St. Mary's, but then at Mayo, you've really seen how habits pay off over time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And like with my kids, I have 3 young kids. We read together every night. And if there's and even they love routine. So if we're not able to read at night, I hear about it. And it keeps me honest, keeps them honest. It's it's good. It's a good thing.
That's great. And so for some of these people are juniors, some are seniors. Any last like on X and YouTube? I cut you off on why
Oh,
LinkedIn,
sure.
why X, and why YouTube. Why does that matter?
Oh, I guess like in the spirit of embracing technology where it's at, and embracing AI. In the same regard, I think it's important, like professionally, to embrace tools that we have at hand. So I use LinkedIn to network. If
Good.
people are looking to learn more about being a variant scientist, they can reach out to me. I can endorse some of our webinars that I put on through different consortium efforts on there. It's a good space for communicating. X I use more for, I still use it for advertising, but I use it for more keeping up with the literature. It's a lot easier to kind of, you know, summarize an article in 40 characters than it is to go through all of my favorite journals and read abstracts and things. So that's been a nice addition to kind of my work ritual. And then YouTube is nice for, ease of access for people. So a lot of my consortium work is around democratizing what we do. So different standards about how we talk about mutations and things like that. We have a couple lively discussions a month that get recorded and they get put on the YouTube channel because some of the people who want to be part of our group might not be available at that time, or they might live in Hong Kong or Australia or something and might not be able to tune in. I mean, who wants to join a meeting at 2 a.m.? So,
I love,
um,
Beth, I'm going to pick up on something you just said there, work ritual. I think this is the thing that has me, this is why I'm bald, is when I was in class with students, I'd be pulling my hair out, that business majors are sitting there going, just like that person who says, "Oh, I don't like AI." They're like, "Well, I don't like LinkedIn." And I'm like, "I don't fucking care. You're going to use it if you want to network. I don't like X. It's people just bitching about politics." No, it's not. It's where some people are doing like
mhm,
actual posting of, and then finally, I love your appeal about YouTube. This is the place where we can democratize cancer research, to boil it
mhm.
way down. You can, and there's certain things you can and can't probably put out there on YouTube. Am I right?
Yeah, like
Yeah, you
we have
have
to
to
be
have a
really
certain,
careful about
right.
what we put on YouTube.
So this has been my plea to these students is I don't care if you don't, if if you don't like LinkedIn, do you think Gen X people like LinkedIn? I hate it more than any of y'all millennials or Gen Z, but I recognize that it's going to be part of my professional practice, and I'm going to beat the horse one more time. Iterative. You use the word ritual. I assume you're looking at X daily, you're probably using YouTube weekly, and you're probably using LinkedIn a couple times a week.
Yep,
Yeah, so I just want them to hear that, and you recognize that that's true of other professionals, not just you as a clinical variant scientist.
correct. Yep.
Did you like getting LinkedIn?
No.
No, maybe
No,
not. None of us like it.
it's not like I put like fun pictures of my kids or funny memes or anything on LinkedIn. It's for work.
Yeah,
It's yeah, it's iterative. It's work practice.
yeah,
Um, and X is the same way. I'm not trolling politicians or following celebrities or anything on X. It's a work process for me. Some people have separate accounts, like one is personal, one is
yeah.
professional, but I just do my kind of professional-ish X account.
Anything you would say for these students? These are business ethics people. They're coming from a variety of majors, but mostly business. Any last word of advice you'd give them on how to interview? We just had the career fair day yesterday, and people got, resume updating. They could do mock interviews if they wanted. Any word of advice for you on somebody who would be, coming to their junior, senior year as a exiting student from St. Mary's, just a one word of advice, couple words.
Um, yeah, substance. Everybody wants substance in their hires. So when you interview, don't just make it about your qualifications and the work. There will be questions about who you are as an individual. And when you answer those questions, make sure that you kind of back it up with some passion too. It doesn't have to be all about work, but just I mean, everybody is a human, and I know that a lot of the people that we have hired have been, um, they've they come from huge pools of applicants. Probably half of them would be great at the job, but the ones that float to the top are usually the ones that we can relate to, and the
Hmm.
ones that, bring some substance to the table. So be the person that has substance.
Oh, that's such a rich philosophy word. I'd love to go deeper with it, but as it is, I'll have to thank you for your time, for talking about
Yeah.
hermeneutics, interpretation of data, about the importance of AI, about iterative practice, especially work ritual. I really think it's students to think about democratizing information, that's really one of the imports of, I think Wilson and Doherty are recognizing that too. Is there any last thing about their article that stood out to you before we go?
Um, I think we touched on most of the things that I thought were really important. Being able to ask the question appropriately. I know a lot of us will go into Chat GPT and will say something like, uh, "Tell me the best way to make apple strudel," or something like that. And yeah, they'll give you something, but what if you wanted something a little bit different? So being able to be precise on your queries, I think is really uh, an interesting concept, and I think it's not something that we all do. When we're given ChatGPT and we decide that it's cool, it's because we entered something general and it answered us. It's not we didn't. It's an acquired skill to query those things. So if you're going to embrace AI, it's necessary to learn how to do that.
Well, that's good. And it's perfect to close here that human judgment, even what you said about the interview process, there's gonna be, yes, you better have substance, you better have some ability to speak to your major. But nobody thinks that what you learned at St. Mary's in your major is going to suffice at whatever company you're working at. So you are going to be asked to show yourself as a human a little bit. That's something that the AI and the chatbot can't do. And I think you shouldn't show up as allergic to any of those technologies, AI, LI, LinkedIn, X, or YouTube. You should show an ability to recognize that that's my workmate. Those are my helpers. These are tools for the 21st century. Oh, you're gonna show us?
Oh, um, am I?
Oh, I
I
thought
can
you were
show you
showing
some.
me an illustration here at the end.
Oh, I can. I have a couple of illustrations
Okay,
I can
last one.
show.
Let's do it. Last images, and then I gotta go to a 1 o'clock meeting.
Yeah. So, um,
Ah, yes.
I guess parting pieces of advice here. Um, just because it's on Twitter doesn't mean it's good. So be aware where your source of information is, the real source of information. There's false quotes. You can put anything on Twitter, but knowing where the source is important. The lemonade stand where it says it's free, but they sell your information. Be responsible with social media. There are things that you can't post on social media. In the medical profession, if I'm working on data, I have to make sure it's de-identified or make sure that it's consented or from a patient that's okay with having their information used as research or authorized. And then, are you concerned about the increase of artificial intelligence? And then he says, no, but I'm concerned about the decrease of real intelligence. So maybe that's where kind of you could think about using your analog practice to, make sure that you're keeping yourself in check too, and making sure that you're not losing your expertise by using AI or something as a crutch. So, yeah, thank you so much for
Oh,
having me.
Beth. Thank you. And I noticed that that boss right there has an analog set of papers sitting in front of him. We're not ever going to be fully broken from being in a room with paper and pen. I just think it
No.
can make you stand out from a pool if you're actually jotting notes. It shows that you're seriously engaged in the conversation.
Hmm.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time here today, and thanks, students. I look forward to seeing you in the real world sometime soon.
Great. Good
Thanks,
luck.
Beth. All right.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.